Welcome to the Called to Love podcast, a show dedicated to exploring how human relationships and intimacy with God are connected. Join us as we discuss hard-hitting topics that inspire and motivate you to go deeper into the intricacies of building meaningful relationships. Here now are your hosts, James Levesey and Brian Canadle.
Well, welcome to another podcast. I've got a cool story I want to share. We hear a lot about, as Christianity, about witnessing and, there's a lot of pressure put on a lot of church members and just Christianity in general. Like, if you're not witnessing, you're not representing Christ and that sort of thing. And there was a time to where I was in a restaurant and I got to know this waitress over a period of time. She was always serving my table and that sort of thing. And probably a couple of years went by. And one thing it was about the relationship I had, it was just in the restaurant. I never talked about the Lord. I just took care of her. Tipped her well, was always kind, was always encouraging, always gave her some word of encouragement. One day, her grandmother died. She comes up. I asked her how she was doing. She had tears in her eyes. She sat down in my seat and just kind of, scooted me over with her body, just kind of scooted over, laid her head on my shoulder and said, "Would you pray for me?"
Wow.
And I said, "What would you like me to pray?" She goes, "I just don't understand death. I'm so discouraged. My grandmother died. She was my mother figure, but she was my grandmother, and that's the role she played in my life." And, I realized something in that interaction, something I'd already known, but I had begun to put in practice. Our actions speak way louder than our words.
Yes.
And we developed a relationship even after that more and more. The next thing I knew, she started attending a local church just nearby. And she was getting very involved in that church, and she was coming and she was talking about how the Lord had her back. And I got a chance to share about how Jesus Christ took the sting of death from us because she was asking me. She was curious. She was wondering, what is it about you? And I know something. I know you can pray without ever saying, "Can I pray for you?" or anything like that.
That's good. At the end of the day, you can tell people what you believe. You can tell people what to think. You can tell people what they should do. But they're looking for someone to model it. They're looking for someone to be authentic and real and demonstrate it, manifest it. It's not enough to say, "Hey, I want you to come to church." Everyone should be looking at your life and saying, "He's not perfect by any stretch. But I will tell you this, he has a drive and a desire and a passion to be like Jesus." I can say that much for him. And people are always paying attention, whether they tell you, "Hey, I'm paying attention today." They're not going to do that, James.
Oh, yeah. Well, they know when you're a mean person, right? I mean, that guy, don't mess with him. He's always grumpy. Well, how did they know he was always grumpy? Did he communicate that? Well, yeah, he communicated it, maybe not in words. Did he tell you he was grumpy? No, they just figured it out. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about living a lifestyle that people start to see Christ in you. Just like the scriptures talk about by, putting the lamp, where it'll shine.
You know this. If you have a past, if God rescued you and redeemed you from a lot, you've been forgiven a lot, you're going to love a lot. But a lot of people may not see you as someone on a brand new journey, a new creation, someone in motion. So you have to learn how to walk that out. And the way you do it is not tell them I've changed. What you do is you demonstrate that. And the greatest thing is to meet someone that's willing to share their journey, and you find out that they've been down a similar road and you are such an encouragement to them. There are times when you talk to people and you find out real fast. They're not willing. They look at you and say, here's what I've accomplished. Here, I've not done what you've done or whatever. You got to. The biggest thing that you and I've had to do is we've had to learn to give people a place and a space to communicate where they are, and we love them right where they are. If there's a personality blend difference, if there's a temperament difference, whatever it is, we just embrace them, and that's made a huge difference in people's life, in our walk and growing with them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest compliments you can get is, "Hey, thank you for not judging me. I know I've got baggage." I mean, you've got baggage, right?
Yes.
I've got some. We all got baggage. We understand that, right? And sometimes we don't act like we don't, we act like we don't have baggage, so we get this judgmental attitude. That just doesn't draw people in. We're talking about a lifestyle of not being affected by someone that cusses or does something that we've overcome. Like, we don't do that anymore, so why should we judge people that do? They're just in a different place. It's a different lifestyle we're talking about.
Yeah, let's watch this clip.
People are on different levels at different times, different lifestyles, different issues that they go through. So to be intentionally, to be in a relationship with someone, I have to give of myself. I have to make time for that person, put that person as a priority to get to know them in different ways. You have to really be intentional in learning things about them, their family, their jobs, past issues that they've gone through. I believe that to be closer to them, you really have to give of yourself and your time. I'm thankful that the Lord has forgiven me for so much stuff in my life, and it showed me that regardless of where people are at, you have to have that patience and that forgiveness and that love. The greatest is love. You have to love them, regardless of whether sometimes you agree with them or where they're at. It's not necessarily judging them. You have to love them and be patient and be willing to be there for them when they need you to be.
You know what makes this so fun is because I love people so much. And that is the common denominator you and I both have, is we didn't always love people. We could get along with people. We liked people somewhat. Some people we didn't. And we could write people off pretty easily. And we could stay, offended, and we didn't think nothing of it. But now we love people. And what I found about the Father, God, is He's strategic. As soon as I got my mind off myself and I started focusing on other people, He became, my ears opened. He didn't become anything. He's always been. But I started hearing the strategic side of what the Lord wanted to do. And He's wanting to restore people. He's wanting to resurrect the old person into a new person and forgive them of everything they've ever done and make them a new person. And that's what's exciting to talk about it, because our life's been filled with people that are like that. And I bet you know some people like that.
I was thinking, you just shared a story earlier about a restaurant. I was in this restaurant going on 7 years ago. And I was meeting there regularly with everyone, different people. And this one waiter, this male waiter, he would watch and say, "Well, who is this?" So I'd introduce him to everyone that I was meeting. And one day he was walking by and he would be listening to our conversation. And he announced that he was agnostic, and he began to kind of just help himself with the conversation. And the guy that I was with just kept looking at me like, "Are you going to do something?" And I loved it. I wanted to take a moment to embrace his interaction with us. But we went on a journey from there. He ultimately left there and went to work for a bigger restaurant. And I came and visited him there at that restaurant. We exchanged numbers. Ultimately, he ended up coming to work. Worked with me for a period of time, and we've been on this journey for 7 years. and he's gone through. He's still on this journey of finding, really trying to find out where he is and his faith. But he keeps calling me, and I love it because we have this beautiful relationship. You just never know who's watching you, who is wanting to see consistency, and know that if you can be a friend to someone else, or if you can connect with someone else, maybe you can connect with them. And it's a great place. Public place is a great place. Restaurants, that's where we first, one of the first places we've ever met was at a restaurant. So.
Yeah, but isn't 7 years too long?
You know, James, it is if you have an expectation. If you have an expectation and you're looking at it like I'm trying to accomplish something, or I'm trying, you don't. It's like a father's heart. You're patient. I mean, when he says in Luke 15, when the prodigal son's father, he kept looking every day. He spotted his son from afar off. He never knew his son was looking. And that is the attitude you have. God, let me see people the way you do. I don't want to put an expiration date on it. I may just be planting a seed. Somebody else is going to come and water it, and you get the harvest, Father. So it's not about your role. It's not about what you think it should happen, when it should happen, how it should happen. Your goal is to say, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be a vessel to be used. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we're just lowly servants. I mean, we're nothing great. However, Jesus gave us this gift of life, and he gave us his words, and he did all these great things for us. And it reminds me of the woman at the well. He went out of his way to meet this woman at the well, and he said to her, he said, if you knew who I was, you would ask me for a drink. And when I give you a drink, you'll never thirst again. And that's what he's equipped us with as saints. I mean, do you believe that, though? Do we believe that we have this gift to give to people? And when we're out talking to people, do we really believe that the words that we have can make that big of an impact on them?
Well, it's difficult because sometimes you only feel valuable to the measure of how you feel. And our faith is not based on the feeling. It's based on what he says about me. And the enemy doesn't want us to walk around being an impact on the kingdom and loving people. He wants us to walk around feeling unworthy or inadequate. Therefore, we're unavailable, and so we walk around not connecting with people. And God says, I want to use you and show up. I want to show up. If you allow me, I'm gonna reveal something to you in an act of kindness. It doesn't take much at the grocery store. It doesn't take much. Let someone go in front of you. If you want to gauge the person in front of you, and if they have about $30, go ahead, groceries, go ahead and pay for it. You would be shocked the response you get when you show acts of love.
Yeah. Well, here's another good example of a person that has been restored and redeemed, and they're still on a journey, and they've got a great story. And here's just one little segment of where they are and their experiences. So let's check it out.
Great.
I think one thing that I have learned is that, and I gave an example of this not too long ago, is about the different characteristics of the disciples and how we all have different characteristics, and others have, even non-believers have different characteristics. We have to love them where they're at. And I think the Lord has taught me, because of my failures and because of where he's forgiven me, that I have to look over their failures and forgive them and love them if they've intentionally done something to me, or whether they haven't. You have to love them for who they are. Because of the mercy that the Lord has given me, I see people differently. Try to see them with God's eyes. Try to see them with the love that the Lord has, and not just what I base my opinion on, but how the Lord has changed me, changed the way that I look at people. I try to look in, the difference that the Lord has made in my life and the mercy that he's showed me, to look at people with different mercy.
See, we're sharing clips with you guys with people that have been on a journey with us for quite some time. We have been through life events. We've been through thick and thin. We've been through ups and downs. we have done things with these people that has not been convenient. We don't look at it as an inconvenience because we love these people. What we see in these people is we see gold. We see diamonds in them. We see diamonds in the rough. A lot of times we find people and they will tell us that if it wasn't for you, my marriage would not have made it. Now, when someone says that, it's very humbling to me because surely that can't be true. I mean, really? And what's interesting to me is that God has given us, I don't know how to explain it, somehow or another, when we expect Him to do everything, and we believe He can do everything, He says, I want you to do it.
Well, and here's the thing. We often think most of the time it's in our own power. But when you're walking in a relationship with Him each and every day and you're asking Him to lead and guide you, don't be shocked if He does. And then if He does, you may not know the impact on the person that you're showing kindness to, or that you're meeting with on a regular basis, or you're just introduced yourself at church to, and you're doing your first coffee or whatever. It should be the most exciting time of your life because everyone has a story to tell, and everyone must be on a journey with someone sharing about the most amazing love story ever, and that's the love story of how they met Jesus, how they were rescued. And so you just don't know. One day we could stand before the Lord, and I've even had a vision of this where I have been standing before the Lord, and He was looking at me, or I couldn't see His face, but I saw where He had leaned over like He was looking around me. And when I turned around, there were all of these people, and those were people I've never met. They were people that were influenced by the people I was in relationship with. So the impact of relationships and being in relationships with people is far, far bigger than we can possibly comprehend or even fathom.
No, that's a great point. I mean, we may not see the value in how one person could make that much of a difference in kingdom, but that person knows a person that knows a person that knows a person, and people are being impacted all over the place. That's a great story, and that's a great point. And we'll talk more about that. That's the end of this episode.
I enjoyed it, James.
Yeah, this has been great. So we'll see you next time.
We hope this episode of the Called to Love podcast has enriched your life and offered valuable principles to apply on your personal journey. Please explore our website at www.calledto.love for more information and to share your feedback with us. Until our next episode, may you find peace and love. And always remember, you are called to love.